I'm 39 years old. I have multiple sclerosis. I've spent years learning about nutrition, fasting, health, and how to listen to my body. And lately, I've been wondering something that I honestly don't know the answer to. Am I starting perimenopause? Or am I tired because I'm not sleeping enough? Is the brain fog normal? Is it MS? Is it stress? Am I not eating enough? Is my skin changing just because I'm getting older? Are my hormones changing? Or is this simply what being a 39-year-old woman with a busy life feels like? And apparently, I'm far from the only woman asking these questions. So today, instead of pretending I already know what's happening, I want us to figure this out together. This is the weird part about approaching 40. I don't feel that old. Like, that's the first thing I want to establish because sometimes conversations about women approaching 40 are framed like we've reached the beginning of some terrible decline. Suddenly, every article is your metabolism is slowing, your collagen is disappearing, or your hormones are crashing, or your muscle, it's disappearing. And you're sitting there thinking, good grief, I'm 39, I'm not dead. And I really like this stage of my life. There are things about myself at 39 that I appreciate so much more than I did at 20. I know myself better. I'm more comfortable with who I am. I've raised children. I have 7 of them, and I've lived through some really difficult things. I've been married, built a family, dealt with chronic illness, and changed my health, gained weight, lost weight, had it cycle for several years, hundreds. Oh, it was, yeah. I've made mistakes and I've learned things. I've lived. And I don't want this conversation to become, how do we stop aging? No, I don't want to stop aging. I can't. Neither can you. I want to understand what my body really needs while I'm aging. Those are different goals, my friend. And I think that's where this conversation, sorry, gets really interesting. So for part one, let's discuss what actually is perimenopause. We have to start here because I think a lot of us have heard the word without really understanding what it means. Menopause is technically one point in time. It's when a woman has gone 12 months without a menstrual period. But perimenopause is the transition leading up to that. And that transition can last for years. Yes, years. It commonly begins sometime during a woman's 40s, although some women notice changes earlier and some later. And here's the part I didn't used to completely understand. Your hormones don't necessarily just calmly decline in a straight line. They can fluctuate. Estrogen changes, progesterone changes, your menstrual cycle can change, sleep, mood, temperature regulation, all these things they can change. And that means the experience isn't necessarily one day I entered perimenopause. It can be much messier than that. You might simply start thinking, whew, why do I feel this way? Like, why do I feel different? And that is what caught my attention because I've been asking myself that question. So, for part two, let's discuss the symptom problem because here is where things get complicated. We're going to look at some things women report during this stage of life: fatigue, brain fog, trouble sleeping, mood changes, changes in menstrual cycles, hot flashes, night sweats, headaches, body composition changes, even if you haven't really adjusted much. It's still changing. Changes in skin, changes in hair changes. It thins, it changes. You know it does, right? Let's be honest. Just joint discomforts within the joints, difficulty concentrating, remembering what was I all trying to listen. Changes in libido is definitely a real thing with age. Anxiety can change with everything. That's a whole rabbit hole. I won't go down. But as I'm thinking about this, like, wait, fatigue, you know, it can come from 100 things. Brain fog can come from 100 things. Sleep deprivation, stress, like it can cause brain fog. Both of those can. And not eating enough can make you exhausted, and then nutrient deficiencies can affect energy. Hmm. Thyroid problems, huh? That's a whole nother scenario we're going to talk about in a video very soon. I mean, it can cause some of these symptoms. So, for me personally, I have MS. So, fatigue, can that be caused from MS? Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Brain fog? hmm Absolutely. Numbness? Obviously, yes. Changes in strength and muscle tone and just composition, like I mentioned. Yep. So imagine trying to separate all of that. Was that MS? Was that hormones? Did I sleep terribly? Have I had too much caffeine? Did I actually eat enough? Am I stressed? Or am I simply approaching a different hormonal stage of my life? Maybe the answer isn't one thing. Maybe that's the first mistake we're making. So, for part 3, I do want to discuss that your body isn't a Google search. This is something I keep coming back to. We want symptoms to work like Google. We type in, oh, why am I tired? And we want one answer. Perimenopause. Great. Solved. Except bodies don't work like that. Fatigue is information, brain fog is information, poor sleep is information, and a change in appetite is information. A change in your menstrual cycle is information. But one piece of information doesn't necessarily tell you the whole story. And I think this is especially important online because right now there is just so much hormone content. Cortisol is making you gain weight, or estrogen is causing that, or progesterone is doing it, or fix this hormone and you'll feel amazing. And sometimes there's legitimate science underneath those conversations. But sometimes we also take that hope of, well, we take an incredibly complicated human body and we reduce everything to one hormone because that makes a better 30-second video. Your body's more complicated than a TikTok. And honestly, that's probably a good thing. For part 4, let's talk about cortisol because cortisol is everywhere online. Cortisol belly, cortisol face, lower your cortisol. Your morning routine is destroying your cortisol. You know, you could practically blame cortisol for everything. You know, you just could. But cortisol isn't itself bad. We need cortisol. It's one of the hormones involved in our stress response, energy regulation, and just normal daily rhythms. The problem isn't cortisol exists. The question is whether our bodies are spending too much time under stress without enough recovery. And this is where I honestly have to look at myself. I have to evaluate this often. Am I sleeping enough? Am I nourishing myself enough? Am I relying on caffeine because I'm exhausted? Am I giving my nervous system opportunities to calm down? Am I moving my body? Am I resting? Because sometimes we're looking for a supplement to balance cortisol when our body is saying, Rebecca, please just go to bed. Does your body ever tell you that? I know it does. And I say that lovingly because I am talking to myself. Guys, we've got to get sleep. But for part 5, I want to discuss the caffeine question. This one is personal because I like caffeine a lot. I do. And lately, I've had to look at the relationship between caffeine and energy differently because caffeine can make you feel like you have energy. It can, but caffeine isn't food. It isn't sleep. It isn't protein. It isn't iron. It isn't magnesium. It isn't hydration. It doesn't replace recovery. So if I'm exhausted and my answer every time is more caffeine, more, just a little more, but I'll change it up. I'll do, what if you do like coffee at one point and then an energy drink at one point and then a soda at another point and then we'll have some tea at another point and then we'll get like some kind of, guys, it's still caffeine. Caffeine within the body, it responds the same way. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you never drink caffeine. That would be difficult, right? It'd be uncomfortable for me to do because I do enjoy caffeine and I wish I didn't and I want to get better. And I do hope someday I'll be able to teach you guys how to conquer it completely. But as of right now, let's just be honest with each other and ask, what job am I asking caffeine to perform? Because if the job is help me function despite not giving my body what it needs, that's something I probably need to pay attention to. For part 6, this brings me to this part, which is, am I eating enough? This may sound strange in a hormone video, but I think it belongs here, especially because I'm going to talk about fasting. And I believe fasting, it can be such an incredible tool. I've practiced it. I use it routinely. I've written about it. I have a whole book about it. I've experienced benefits from it. But a health tool has to be used in the context of the person using it. And lately, I've even had to ask myself, am I actually nourishing my body enough when I'm eating? Because fasting and undernourishment are not the same thing. Intentional periods without food followed by adequate nourishment are very different from simply going through life not eating enough. I'm approaching 40. I don't want to accidentally sacrifice muscle and strength and nutrients or energy because I've become so comfortable with eating less. I know that can sound weird, but it's true. If you're routinely eating less and less, you need to remember that protein matters, minerals matter, vitamins matter, healthy fats matter, plants matter, calories and food matter. And maybe one of the most mature things we can do with any health practice is to allow it to change when our body changes. So for part 7, let's discuss muscle and why it may matter more than I realized when I was younger. This has been one of the biggest shifts in how I'm thinking about health as I approach 40. When I was younger, exercise was much easier to associate with appearance. Do I look thin? Do I fit into my clothes? Do I burn enough calories? I cared so much about things then that have shifted now. What I care about now is, can I carry my own groceries in from that car? Can I get up and down from the floor easily? Can I maintain my balance? Can I stay independent? Can I keep doing the things I love when I'm 60? Because right now I'm only 39 and there are moments and days that I struggle. I have multiple sclerosis, and unless you're a friend or you've seen me in a video or worked with me, you just wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And there are days, oh, I feel it, my friends. It may be invisible to someone not in my personal bubble. So when I say, can I stay independent? I'm only 39, almost 40. 20 years until I'm almost 60, 30, and I'll be saying almost 70 and 40. I have another 40 years ahead of me before I can say I'm 80. Dolly Parton just died. And I'm not even saying that because I'm trying to give views. This is, you probably don't even know who Dolly Parton is if you're not from the United States and you're not Southern and you've not been to Tennessee and Dolly's got a world. And she's one of those women that was eternally youthful and eternally beautiful. And I never saw her age. And she was 80. And it's got me self-reflecting to the point of being in tears over the idea of being 80. Because for someone with MS, strength and balance, they already mean something so very personal to me. So muscle, it isn't just about aesthetics anymore. It's protection, it's function, it's resilience. And this doesn't just apply if you have MS. Women lose muscle as we age. So do men. This is not gender neutral. But women, my friends, especially if we're not intentionally using it, which means maybe my next decade doesn't need more punishment style exercise, neither does you, but it does need strength. Okay? We have to do resistance training. We have to do some cardio. And I don't care if that's taking your dog for a walk or going out with your friends on a hiking trail or getting on your treadmill in the comfortable AC. Doesn't matter. Do something. Whatever it is that you can do, that you can choose, that you can get your shoes on for, or barefoot if you're going to do some grounding. I don't care. Get your body moving. Okay. All right. Whew, part 8. What about my skin? We've got to get into something that I find fascinating because I've been talking about it a lot lately on my channel. Skin changes with age, and that's normal. The collagen does actually change, and our ability to retain moisture is going to change. And your hormones shifting and adjusting, those changes can affect the skin. And eventually, estrogen changes can contribute to changes in hydration and thickness and elasticity. But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to stand in front of the mirror every morning searching for evidence that I'm deteriorating. Nope, I refuse. I'm not going to do that. I want healthy skin. I want hydrated skin. I want to protect this skin. It's my skin. So I'm going to enjoy skincare. I'm going to protect myself from the sun. I'm going to enjoy taking care of myself. But I don't want to become afraid of my face. There are lines around my eyes. I'll give you an up close look. See if I smile, can you really see it? I have children who are adults. Today, I was sitting at the vet with, I have a new little Maltese in my lap. If you follow me or my channel, you know the sadness and the heartache and the drama we experienced over our last Maltese named Bel Air, who died at way too young of an age for a sweet puppy. But my husband very lovingly and kindly brought a new Maltese into our home to help fill the gap that was in our hearts. So she's asleep on my lap. This one is named Esther, of course, because of my love for the story Esther, and she's 6 months old. But I was at the vet with her this morning, and just talking to somebody about the fact that I have 7 kids. I gave birth to 3 of them, and I'm a blended family. And so I have 3 more from my husband, and then we adopted one. And so we've got 7. And he just couldn't even believe it because my oldest is 25 and then the youngest 2 are 14. And obviously, I didn't give birth to the 25-year-old. He's my stepson. I love him, though. I've raised him since he was smaller than I am, so I still count as mom. I claim him. But the point is, I have a marriage. I've been, like, I'm on, I've been married twice, right? Which means that there's stories there. There's heartache and there's loss. And I've cried. And where there's loss, there's opportunity. And I've also laughed. And I've survived some things, my friends. My face is allowed to know that. So I'm interested in healthy aging, not anti-aging. Your face is allowed to have some wrinkles. It is allowed to tell the story of a life that has been lived and is still going. We are all the Energizer Bunny, whether we want to admit it or not. Our bodies just keep going and going. All right. Okay. Part 9. Let's move on. What I'm watching for. So, how would I actually know whether I'm entering perimenopause? One of the biggest clues can change. Well, the clues can be changes in menstrual cycles, right? Like if your period is changing, cycles may become shorter or longer or just less predictable. It just changes. Hot flashes and night sweats, oh, they're not fun, but they're also more characteristic. I mean, they tend to be clues often that something non-specific, like it's not just fatigue, like you're hot, you're sweating and you can't sleep. And those that matters. It's there isn't one symptom is what I'm saying that automatically proves perimenopause. And there isn't necessarily one simple hormone test that can give every woman a perfect yes or no answer because hormone levels can fluctuate during this transition. So rather than diagnosing myself because I watched some videos, I'm watching patterns, my cycle, my sleep, my energy, my mood, my temperature, my skin, my strength, my appetite, and how these things change over time because patterns tell us more than just panicking when all of a sudden it seems like, whew. But honestly, if we stop and evaluate and think back, we can see a pattern has often been forming. So for part 10, I also want to acknowledge that sometimes you need medical help. I want to make this really clear. Not every symptom in a woman around 40 should automatically be blamed on hormones. If something is new, severe, rapidly changing, or just interfering significantly with your life, it's worth getting evaluated. Heavy or unusual bleeding deserves attention. If you're having severe mood changes or persistent exhaustion, that deserves attention. Also, heart symptoms or new, like neurological symptoms, especially new, it deserves attention. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm probably just getting older, please don't let that sentence prevent you from taking yourself seriously. Aging is normal. Suffering without understanding why shouldn't automatically be dismissed as normal aging. I think women who have, yeah, this will be part 11. I think women have been given two terrible options for a long time. It seems like the two messages were either the first, don't talk about menopause, just quietly deal with it. And now the internet has something, it's like it's swung in the opposite extreme and saying, everything is your hormones. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about all of it. And I don't think either one of those serves us. I think we need something in the middle. Let's talk about it. Let's learn about it. Let's take symptoms seriously and understand hormones. But don't become afraid of your own biology because this transition is not a disease, my friend. It's a stage of life. It's a season. And I don't want to spend the next decade fighting my body. I want to work with it. And that's what I want for you too. So for part 12, I want to discuss what I'm actually going to do. I'm not going to buy 17 hormone balancing supplements. No, I'm not going to completely overhaul overnight. I'm not. I'm going to start simpler. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to work on consistently eating enough nourishing food. I'm going to pay attention to protein. I'm going to get more serious about strength training and just maintaining my strength. I'm going to continue working on sleep. I'm going to look honestly at how much caffeine I'm using. And I'm going to take my vitamins consistently instead of owning vitamins and just leaving them in my pink bucket. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue caring for my health and my skin. I'm going to pay attention to my cycle and I'm going to learn because I think curiosity is a much healthier response to aging than fear. So for part 13, the experiment that I want to try, actually, I think we should turn this into something because I don't want this channel to become me sitting here telling you everything you should do. That'd be silly. I want to actually live some of this with you. So over the next few weeks, I want to start paying closer attention to what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. Like pay attention to food and sleep, caffeine, movement, strength, vitamins, skincare, energy, brain fog. And I want to come back and tell you what I'm noticing, not Rebecca discovered the secret to hormones. Please don't ever let me make that video. If I do, it's just an accidental thumbnail because I don't think there is a secret. But what happens when I actually start giving my 39-year-old body the things I keep saying it needs? That sounds like an experiment worth doing. Maybe the question isn't what's wrong with me? Maybe this is what I really wanted to say today. I think so. If you're somewhere around my age and lately you've been looking in the mirror or waking up in the morning and thinking, why am I just so tired? Why does my body feel so different than I used to? Why can't I recover like I used to? It wasn't that much of an issue. Why am I forgetting things? Why is my skin changing? Why am I just so much more emotional? Why isn't life just, man, why just doesn't anything work like it used to be? I don't want your first thought to be something is wrong with me. I want it to be something may be changing. Let me understand it. And that feels completely different. One creates fear and the other creates curiosity. And curiosity gives us somewhere good to go. So, in closing, there's something I want to share. It's something kind of beautiful about getting older that I don't think we talk about enough. When I was younger, I wanted my body to obey me. I wanted to tell it what size to be, what it should look like, when it should have energy, when it should keep going. And after living with multiple sclerosis for about 2 decades, I don't think that's my relationship with my body anymore. I've learned that bodies whisper before they yell. And sometimes we're so busy trying to make them behave that we never ask what they're trying to tell us. So whether what's changing in me right now is hormones, MS, stress, nutrition, sleep, age, or perhaps some complicated combination of all of those things, I want to listen because this body has carried me through almost 40 years of life. It has carried babies. It has carried me through illness. It has carried me from things I didn't think I would ever get through. It has healed some things. It has walked when I once was told to plan to be in a wheelchair within a few years. It has hugged my children. It has held my husband. It has let me experience this life. And I don't want to spend the next 40 years angry at it for changing. I want to take care of it while it does. And if you're entering this season too, you can figure it out with me. We're going to talk hormones. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about strength. We're going to talk about skin and multiple sclerosis and fasting and thyroid because my son is dealing with thyroid issues. We've got to talk about it. We're going to talk about the things that work and probably some things I try that don't work because I don't think health is about finally reaching a point where you have everything figured out. I think it's learning how to keep listening, my friend. And if that's the kind of conversation you've been looking for, stay with me. We've got a lot of things to figure out together. So I'll see you in the next one.